Several years ago, I met a man that was a counselor, psychiatry, things like that. That's kind of the work he did. And I told him, I shared with him, I said, look, I'm a pastor and I counsel with people, or try to, all the time. I said, what advice would you have for me in counseling? What tips could you offer to maybe help me be a better counselor? The guy was very, very humble and kind. He said, I've been doing this for 20 years. He said that he had been about as far in college as you could go. He'd gotten a master's degree. He said, I'm not trying to brag. I just need to share with you where I'm at. And he said, I've got all this education. He said, but to be honest with you, what I have found works the most in counseling is that old small town friendship type relationship where you just sit there and listen to people and be their friend. He said, you remember on the Andy Griffith show there in Mayberry, everybody that had problems had come talk to Andy, and Andy just was a friend to them, had a lending ear, and always offered great advice in a friendly way. I said, yeah. He said, that works better than any education that I've encountered. James chapter 5, verse 16, I think, maybe verse 12, it says, confess your faults one to another and pray for one another that you may be healed. The effectual fervent prayer of a righteous man availeth much. That word faults has several different meanings in the Greek. It means flaws, blame, error, mistakes, failure. It means so many things like that, and it can mean sin. I'm currently writing a book dealing with my experience with depression. I've been recording, and as the ideas come to me, things I'd like to share in this book. And while I was doing this, I thought it'd be a great time to share a word from the woods. God always uses His people to help His people. I firmly believe that we experience all kinds of difficulties, problems, issues, trials, tribulations, temptations for ourselves, number one, that we can grow in our faith, that we can learn to overcome those struggles in our life. Now, we'll never be trouble-free in this life. We're going to have problems as long as we're in this old body. But we can learn to deal with them. We can learn to overcome them on a daily basis. We're going to have good days and we're going to have not so good days. But not only will it help us in our faith to grow stronger and learn to overcome it, but we're going to learn to help other people, to be that Andy Griffith type friend, to lend a helping and listening ear, and then to offer the advice, especially from our own experience on how we've done things. Now, recently I shared this about how I love in the scripture that God records the failures of all of God's people. I mean, David, Jonah, Peter, all of them. We find out that they were not perfect. We find out that they all made mistakes, but they learned how to cope with it and how to get past it. We can get to the point in our life where we fail God and we won't forgive ourselves, and we'll become bitter toward ourselves, and we will hate ourselves, and God won't forgive us until we're able to forgive ourselves. Depression is the worst thing that I've ever faced, and that's the book that I was talking about, writing that book on depression. That's the worst thing that I've ever faced in my life. I'm not healed of depression, but I have learned how to cope with it. I've learned how to deal with it, just like Paul learned to cope or deal with that thorn in his flesh. And by us being a friend, that have been there and learned how to deal with certain situations, problems, failures, flaws, whatever, if we can minister to other people and be that good old small town kind of friend to people, we're doing the will of God, we're helping other people, and we are helping ourselves. Don't take what you've been through, your experiences, and bottle them up inside of you and just keep them for yourself. Those blessings are meant for other people to reach out and minister to them. Whatever you've been through, there's somebody out there that needs you, needs your experience, needs your advice, needs your friendship. God always uses His people to help His people. That's all the time I have for today. For some reason, I felt like I needed to share that. This has been a word from the woods, and until next time, may the Lord bless you.